Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Wealth Wednesday. We are joined, as always, by Lamont Brown, who is the owner and wealth manager of ALNA Wealth Management here in Fredericksburg. And he is here today to talk to us about seasonal financial planning, which I think is kind of a really smart way of doing it, right? Because then you can break it down for each little bit instead of trying to think about the whole year, which can kind of be scary.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I grew up in a small West Texas town where we only had two seasons. It was cold and it was hot. That was it, no in betweens. And then I got stationed here in Virginia and I grew to fall in love with all of the pretty seasons we have. In the winter, we have no leaves and we have time to rest and relax. In the spring, we get to see the flowers. In the summer, we get to feel the heat. In the fall, we get to see these beautiful leaves. And it taught me one thing: having seasons was the best thing that I could ever have because it gave me the opportunity to rest and recover and relax and change my environment all within the course of the year. And nature has used seasons from the beginning of time to control when plants do things and plants when they grow and when they rest and they're recovering. And so, why not apply this to financial planning? So, today, next slide, we're going to be talking about how to set up a seasonal financial planning calendar so that you can enjoy the time with your family and really focus on the things that matter the most in life. It's with a seasonal calendar that you're able to look forward into the year and be prepared and not rushing from season to season, stress to stress, but preparing for the next season to come. Because just like nature, there's always that next season that we need to be preparing for. Winter prepares us for spring, prepares us for summer, and summer prepares us for the fall. And so we're going to be talking about that today. And we're going to start right where we are right now in the heart of winter. Next. In financial planning, winter is the season that kind of straddles 2 years. It straddles the end of one year and the beginning of the other. And what better time than then to start to think about your overall financial picture? In one year, you're starting to feel the crunch of income taxes. You're starting to know what your income tax bill is going to look like, or at least have some understanding of where you're going to finish up. And you're going to start to pull out all those documents and receive those documents from all of your carriers to make sure that you know how the year ended up. So, this is a perfect time to start to prepare for income taxes and thinking about what's going to come. Next, you want to be looking at your income because at this point, you probably received your raises, you received your cost of living adjustments, you received all those changes, and you also have an idea on what you're going to be doing for the rest of the year. Like my family, we already know we're flying to overseas for a couple of days. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be traveling to San Diego at a point. So now I know what income I'm going to be expecting throughout the year. And then I also know what my expenses are. The next thing you want to do is, if you're already at that age where you're taking the required minimum distributions, this is the point where you know exactly what that number is going to be. So you're going to confirm that number with all of your carriers and you're going to say, okay, I know what that number is going to be and I know when I'm going to take those, but I really want to get a good, keen understanding on what that looks like, because I want to start to plan my year out and know that, hey, I may not need to take as much distribution because my required minimum distribution is greater than I anticipated. Or, hey, I want to reduce this income and I want to start thinking about qualified charitable distribution, which is the QCD planning. So if you've already been charitable in the past and you want to offset some of those required minimum distributions, this is a great time to be thinking ahead and planning for what the year is going to look like, because you want to plan when you take the qualified charitable distributions relative to when you take your required minimum distributions. And then finally, if you're still working, you want to take this moment to increase your contributions to your retirement plan, because at this point it's going to be the lowest amount that you, because it's going to be divided over the full 12 months of the year. If you wait until June to increase your retirement contributions, it's going to be too hard for you to catch up. So at this point in the year, you should be looking at your 401k and saying, I want to bump it up from 15 to 20%, or I want to bump it up from 20% to 25%. I want to max it out. This is the perfect time of the year to start planting those seeds for the spring to come. Next slide. Spring is where we start to look at everything, because now we already know what the taxes look like, because we received all of our documents, we've submitted them to our tax preparer, and now we have to wait. We're waiting to figure out what we're going to owe. But in the interim, we want to review our investments and be thinking about, where's my, what am I still in the right place? Because I knew what happened. I already know what happened last year. I've already looked at everything. I know what my income and expenses are going to be. And now I want to start to really, really hone in on my investments, because, the investments are the growth engine for the rest of the year, the rest of your work life, the rest of your retirement. And this is a perfect time to be looking ahead and starting to think about, well, are they still right for where I am? Or do I need to set something in a different place or make an adjustment? What should I be doing with my investments right now? So you're going to be making those adjustments at this point in the year. And this is the spring, so you feel good. Everything's good. Aside from the pollen all over everything, this is the perfect time to be taking care of that. And also rebalancing. I know most people try to rebalance at the beginning of the year and all those things because it just kind of ties with it. I like this part of the year because this part of the year is a relaxing time. I've already gotten taxes off my plate and my tax preparer is already looking at all those things. And now I have the time to look at, how am I going to grow my investments, and how am I going to make sure everything's okay going forward. So we now are done with spring, and now it's time for us to move into the summer. Next slide. So I know, feed out. This is my season. Well, I have to admit, I kind of lean between summer, spring, and fall. So I think I have 3 favorite seasons. And like I said, I am a fan of all the seasons, but having 3 seasons means that there's only one that I really couldn't care less about. But it does have its place. But summer is the point where you want to take time out, kick back at the pool, review all of your documents. At this point, you received your tax return back and you know exactly what went on, and you want to review it, and you want to be looking at it and saying, are there any adjustments that I need to make before the end of the year so that I can be prepared and not have to pay as much, or I know exactly what I'm going to be paying. That's where you want to do that. Also, reviewing your insurance coverages. Best time to look at auto, home, life insurance, and make sure your coverages are all appropriate for where you are in your life, because now 6 months has gone by and you just want to know what's going on. And then you want to be looking at your estate plan and make sure that all of your estate planning documents are in the right place. You know exactly where they are, and everything still holds true. That means the will is saying everything goes to the right person. The power of attorney is already addressed, and you know that those people know their power of attorney and where to find that document. The medical directive doesn't need to be changed, and people's names are still valid. And everything that needs to be put in trust is already in trust. Those are the questions you want to be asking at this point. It's a great time to be thinking about these things because it's low stress. You're just sitting by the pool, making sure everything is taken care of. Now, this is also a point where you can be looking forward as we think about tax planning, which we're going to talk about next month, at the Roth conversions. Roth conversion could be a great opportunity for you. At this point, you know what your income is going to be, and this may be time to be really considering whether or not this is a good year to make a Roth conversion, or if this is a bad year to make a Roth conversion. This is all done during the summer where there's no stress. You're not worried about the end of the year creeping up on you and you're having to worry about whether or not you're going to get this done or not, or worrying about, the weather changing and climate change, all those things. You don't have to worry about those things during the summer. And it's a much better time to think these things through before we roll into fall. Now, fall is the point where, I hate to say it, a lot of things happen in the fall. First off, you're getting closer to the end of the year. Everyone's really knuckling down on their lives and situations. And then you get this letter from your HR department. Oh, by the way, you need to do your benefits open enrollment. I don't know why, but this is a stressful time. It might be the change in seasons, but for most of us, now we have to make these decisions that we don't really like making and make changes to things we don't really like looking at. So at this point, you're going to be going through benefits, open enrollment, but you're focused because you've already thought about your investments at the beginning of the year. You already know where your taxes are. You already have reviewed all your beneficiaries and all of those things. So now you're able to focus on this important part of your employment, and that's getting enrolled in the simple benefits that you've been afforded. So you want to be looking at these and really looking to fill in gaps for that next year. Next, you're going to be confirming that your required minimum distribution has been done. This is probably one of the most onerous penalties you will ever have to pay if you ever miss taking those required minimum distributions. And you want to make sure at this point, before we get into the holiday season and all the hustle and bustle around those things, that these required minimum distributions are taken. Why now? Because when you go and wait until the holiday seasons, you got people going on vacation, you got people who are checking out, and it can easily be missed. You can be missed by you, it can be missed by your financial advisor. So you want to make sure that you're already done with your RMDs. You want to make sure that everything's already been taken care of and you don't have to worry about that as you're sitting down at the dinner table during the holiday season. Then you want to look at your Roth conversions and make sure that this is what you want to do and you want to pull the trigger. You want to go ahead and do, that's probably not an appropriate word, but I will definitely change that for the future. But you want to make sure and make the decision to go ahead and take your Roth conversions as you think forward to the end of the year. Because at this point, you already know what has happened and what's going to happen. And it's a lot easier to make the decision knowing what the tax impact of that conversion is going to be. Because if you already seen 3/4 of the year, you kind of can figure out that, hey, this might be a good year or this may not be a good year for me. Now, you want to look for those gains in those mutual funds. This is the gotcha moment. Every year it happens. You have these mutual funds that are sitting in taxable accounts, and there's this surprise. They send you these gains, or they tell you that they're going to be paying out the gains. It always happens during the fall. So you want to be aware of what's happening. There's really not a lot you can do at this point, but it's better to know than not know. So you want to be looking for those gains. If you have mutual funds that are sitting inside of taxable accounts, this is the point where you want to be asking the question of your carrier, of your provider, hey, what are the anticipated gains for this mutual fund or that mutual fund this year? Because you don't want to be surprised come January that, oh, by the way, you got to pay taxes on a bunch of gains that you didn't anticipate, because you still have some tools in your toolbox, but very few, because this is the end of the year. Now, we want to roll right into tax loss harvesting. This is an option where if you have some losses, you may want to consider taking those right now, because you can take up to $3,000 in losses to reduce your income over the course of this year. So this may be the opportunity for you to take those losses because you already know what's happened throughout the year. So the fall is the time to optimize and finalize everything. You don't want to wait until the winter comes to start doing this all again. Next slide. So, by making sure that you're taking a seasonal approach to financial planning, you're able to be forward looking because in a seasonal approach, you're always preparing for the next season and the season after and the season after. You're not just focused on what's happening right now, you're always looking forward. And this seasonal approach works year in and year out. And it's just like it serves nature, it helps you to prepare and get prepared for the year to come. You're able to make decisions before the deadlines, like you're able to do Roth conversions before December 31st. You're able to make sure your required minimum distributions are done before December 31st. And you're able to coordinate all of these intricate parts of your life and know that there's always going to be a season for everything. You're going to be looking at your beneficiaries, your estate planning in the summer. You're going to be making sure that everything is in order as you go forward. So if this is something you are interested in learning a little bit more about, or just going through a quick consultation, please do not hesitate to reach out. My phone is always I'm always available and I'm always here. And I'll leave you with this quote. Next slide, please. In nature, nothing is rushed, yet everything is accomplished. And that's the approach you want to take with your financial planning. You don't want to wait until the last absolute minute to make these things happen because mistakes happen. And my name is Lamont, and I look forward to seeing you next month. We're talking about a fun topic. Taxes.
Lamont, thank you so much for that. It sounds like, if people maybe like utilize their calendars, either their digital ones or their personal one, their paper ones, they could, put on like a financial quarterly checklist, actually turn your slides into a really easy checklist so that they can handle it in like those like batches that you were talking about, basically.
Yeah, we do it every year for our clients. And I like to use the seasons because I'm looking forward to the spring and I like the winter and all these things. But I want you to now attach those things to tasks that you need to be taking care of. So you're not waiting around till December 31st, because I have it. People have done it. You wait until December 31st and things don't get done the way you anticipated. So you want to make sure you're ahead of the game.
Give yourself time to succeed, right?
Exactly.
Totally. Well, thank you so much. This was an awesome presentation. Some very simple things that people can do. And if they have any more questions, reach out to him at ALNA Wealth Management. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See y'all next